The station drifted above the fractured world like a silver scar. From its observation deck, Dr. Lyra Kane could see the planet below, a crimson storm-racked sphere where the crust had torn open in luminous rivers of molten metal. The planet was dying, but its inhabitants refused to let go. Lyra was the only human aboard Epsilon Arc, a medical frigate operated by the Volcari, six-limbed healers whose translucent skin shimmered with bioluminescent veins. They tolerated her presence, but only because she'd succeeded where even their gene weavers had failed. She had mended what no one thought could be mended, an alien neural cluster, the core of a wounded Leviath. That act had earned her both awe and suspicion. Now, the quarantine bay hummed around her. Inside the transparent containment chamber floated something massive and still, a creature that looked part whale, part serpent, wrapped in silver membranes that pulsed faintly with bioluminescent patterns. Its pulse was erratic. Its oxygen levels were collapsing. "Vitals dropping again," said Saren, the Volcari overseer, his voice deep and tremulous. "You were called because your methods sometimes work. But this is not a beast of your world, human." Lyra ignored the warning. She pressed her gloved hand to the glass. The creature's massive eye, slit-pupilled, ringed in violet, twitched toward her. For a heartbeat, she saw terror reflected back at her. She whispered softly, more to herself than to the creature. "Easy now. We'll get through this." Around her, the Volcari exchanged uneasy glances. Humans, they whispered, spoke to monsters as if they were friends. Lyra didn't care. In her experience, everything alive understood one language, the tone of someone who refused to give up. The creature's breathing steadied, slightly. And in the silence that followed, the ark itself seemed to exhale. The creature's massive flank rose and fell with a tremor that shook the floor panels beneath Lyra's boots. Each exhalation misted the inner side of the containment barrier, coating the transparent alloy with a fine shimmer of bioplasma. She studied the readings on the holo display: oxygen density, neuroresonance, pulse waves. Nothing lined up with the biological logic of any Earth-born life form. The Leviath pulsed according to rhythms more like music than heartbeat, fractal patterns that no algorithm could predict. Saren hovered nearby, arms folded, his membranous skin dimmed to a skeptical gray. "You do not understand its anatomy," he said. "Our model suggests its neural net spans its entire body. Any interference could trigger a cascade." Lyra adjusted the resonance emitter on her wrist. "Your models think in systems. I think in reactions. Look." She pointed at the creature's eye, dilated now, its luminous iris shimmering like a tide pool. "It's tracking sound. It's aware of us. Fear's the biggest stressor here, not hypoxia." "Fear?" Saren tilted his head. "Primitive emotion. Irrelevant to cellular repair." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then why is its pulse stabilizing when I talk?" She lowered her voice again, murmuring gently, nonsense syllables, rhythm over meaning. The Leviath's breathing deepened, steadier now, its plasma mist softening to a slow glow. "Good," she whispered. "You're doing fine." The monitors responded, oxygen saturation rising by 2%. Saren made a sound between disbelief and awe. "How did you achieve that?" Lyra didn't answer right away. She pressed her hand flat against the glass. Beneath her palm, she felt a faint vibration, not the tremor of machinery, but the creature's pulse itself, syncing subtly with her own. "I just stopped treating it like a specimen," she said softly, "and started treating it like a patient." The bay fell silent, save for the low, rhythmic hum, two hearts, human and alien, finding a fragile rhythm across the glass. Hours passed in an unbroken rhythm of light and hum. The Leviath, that was what the Volcari called it, though Lyra suspected it wasn't its name at all, now floated more easily in its containment field, the tension in its vast muscles slowly easing. Lyra sat beside the transparent chamber, still gloved, eyes half closed. She was listening, not with her ears, but with her instruments and intuition. The creature's internal resonance wasn't chaotic anymore. It was reorganizing, forming faint patterns that mirrored whale songs from Earth's deep oceans. "Do you hear that?" she asked softly. Saren stood at a distance, surrounded by hovering med drones. We hear only noise. It's not noise. It's breath, she said. It's the sound of it wanting to live. The Volcari murmured among themselves. None of them had expected the human to spend 3 cycles here without rest, without nourishment, speaking to a dying alien through glass. But Lyra couldn't stop. The Leviath's responses were too precise to be coincidence. Each time she whispered a word, the creature's internal field pulsed a fraction stronger, like it was learning her cadence. Lyra adjusted the interface mic, leaning close. You've got to keep breathing, all right? We're not done yet. The creature stirred, its vast eye rolling upward. For the first time, it exhaled through its dorsal vents, a soft, low sound that filled the bay like wind across deep water. The temperature monitors spiked, alarms flashed, but Lyra lifted a hand to silence them. It's okay, she said. It's just trying to communicate. Saren hesitated. Communicate? Lyra smiled faintly. It's what animals do when they finally trust you. The Leviath's body glowed faintly with rhythmic pulses that mirrored her heartbeat on the screen. See? She whispered. You're safe now. And for the first time since its arrival, the creature drifted into steady, rhythmic breathing, the sound of a storm finally breaking. The next rotation brought a soft blue dawn through the viewport. The fractured planet below casting pale light across the quarantine bay. Lyra hadn't slept. She didn't dare. Every time she closed her eyes, the Leviath's breathing faltered, as though her consciousness itself had become part of its stability. She logged her data carefully, respiration synced at 0.87 Hz intervals. Neural resonance responding to low-frequency vocal stimuli. Subject displays adaptive feedback patterns indicative of emotional regulation. But when she read the words back, they felt sterile. Numbers couldn't describe the gravity in that creature's gaze. She set the tablet down and stepped closer. The glass shimmered faintly, ripples of energy distorting her reflection. Beneath the surface, the Leviath's skin, a tapestry of scales and translucent membranes, caught the dawn light, refracting it like living crystal. You're beautiful, she whispered. The creature's pulse jumped. Saren entered silently, his elongated silhouette casting faint bioluminescent shadows. You have formed attachment. Lyra didn't turn. Compassion isn't attachment. To us, it looks the same. She let out a slow breath. To me, it's the only thing that works. The Leviath shifted, the entire chamber resonating with a deep vibration that thrummed through Lyra's chest. Monitors flashed warnings again, energy spikes, unknown emissions, but Lyra recognized the pattern. It wasn't random. The Leviath was echoing her voice. She leaned forward, pressing her palm against the glass once more. It's all right. You can trust me. The glow along its body pulsed once, twice, then stabilized. Saren's tone softened. You're speaking to it? Not exactly, Lyra murmured. We're learning how to listen to each other. She smiled faintly, exhaustion etched into her features. And on the other side of the glass, the Leviath blinked, slow, deliberate, the universal sign of peace shared by every creature that ever learned to stop fearing. Lyra spent the following day mapping the creature's physiology through deep field scans. The Leviath's body was a labyrinth of fractal organs, translucent channels coiling like rivers, organs that pulsed with light instead of blood. Its cells didn't divide, they resonated. Every breath seemed to rewrite its biology in microscopic ways. This species isn't dying, she murmured to her recorder. It's adapting. But the process is breaking it apart faster than it can heal. The data didn't make sense, but the pattern did. It was trying to evolve mid-crisis. Like an immune response written into its DNA. The medical drones hovered close, humming as they projected holographic tissue maps. Saren stood behind her, silent as always. Your diagnosis? He finally asked. Lyra pointed to the hologram, a web of light that pulsed erratically. It's fighting itself. Maybe trauma, maybe exposure to something planetary. Whatever the trigger was, its cells are misfiring. And you think? Words can fix this? Words can calm it enough to try. She gave a tired half-smile. That's step one. She turned off the drones and approached the glass again. The Leviath's gaze followed her, not in hunger or pain, but recognition. Listen, she said quietly. Your body's trying to survive. I just need to help it remember how. The creature's flank rippled faintly. Lyra lifted a syringe filled with shimmering biogel, a hybrid nanomedic the Volcari had engineered but refused to test on anything living. This should stabilize the resonance feedback. Saren hesitated. If you inject that, and it rejects the compound. It won't. Before he could protest, Lyra pressed the injector to the containment seal and triggered the automated arm. The needle pierced the Leviath's membrane with a hiss. For a moment, nothing. Then the chamber exploded with light, tendrils of bioluminescence crawling across the creature's body like constellations igniting all at once. Lyra shielded her eyes. Easy. Easy now. The Leviath's pulse surged through the floor like thunder. Monitors screamed. And beneath the chaos, Lyra felt it, a vibration that wasn't pain. It was recognition. It knew her now. The containment bay dimmed to emergency red as the Leviath's bioluminescence flared like a storm trapped in a bottle. The lights rippled through its body in synchronized waves, from the crest of its skull to the edge of its tail, each pulse a silent roar. Lyra gripped the railing to steady herself. Vitals! She shouted. Spiking beyond measurable range! A Volcari tech called out, voice trembling. Neuroresonance is fragmenting. The creature's field is destabilizing. Saren's voice boomed across the room. End the experiment, human! The sedatives. No! Lyra cut him off. It's not fighting us. Look at the waveform. It's sinking. The screens flickered. Amid the chaos of data, a clear rhythm emerged, the Leviath's resonance waves aligning perfectly with Lyra's biometric readings. Heartbeat for heartbeat. She stumbled closer to the chamber, placing both palms against the glass. The barrier thrummed beneath her hands, alive with warmth. Stay with me, she whispered. Don't fracture. You're doing fine. Her voice carried through the mic, layered with static, but the creature responded, the light inside it slowing, deepening, steadying. The room grew silent again. Only the hum of the field and the faint, rhythmic throb remained. Saren exhaled through his gills. You linked yourself to it. Lyra nodded weakly. It needed an anchor. Something constant. You risked neuro-bleed through. You could have died. She gave a faint, exhausted smile. That's the job. The Leviath drifted toward the barrier, enormous eye aligned with hers. The violet iris glowed brighter now, laced with flecks of gold, a pattern she'd seen before, in moments of trust from terrestrial animals. Lyra pressed a fingertip against the glass. That's it. Keep breathing. Keep holding on. The Leviath inhaled, exhaled, a sound like wind through caverns. And when she turned to the monitors, her breath caught. The cellular patterns that had once spiraled in chaos now moved like choreography, each luminous strand mending the fractures in its body. It wasn't breaking anymore. It was healing. The Leviath's recovery unfolded like a slow dawn. Over the next 20 hours, the violent flashes of light faded into a steady glow that rippled beneath its translucent skin. The patterns it emitted had structure now, rhythmic, almost language-like, resonating through the chamber's fluid medium. Lyra watched in silence, seated cross-legged beside the observation window. Her body ached from sleeplessness, her mind running on instinct. Every so often, she'd hum softly, keeping her tone aligned with the creature's resonance. It wasn't words between them anymore, it was tone, breath, intention. She spoke quietly to the recorder. Subject's bioluminescent frequency now syncs at approximately 3.8 Hz intervals. Behavioral shifts indicate awareness, possibly recognition. It's calmer when I'm near. Almost like it's waiting. Saren stood in the background, arms folded. You think it's aware of you? I think it knows I'm not here to hurt it. He gave a low rumble. That's not awareness. That's pattern learning. Lyra looked up, eyes bloodshot but steady. Then maybe that's all awareness ever is. She rose and approached the glass. The Leviath's massive eye followed her. A thin mist formed between them as the chamber adjusted its temperature. Lyra's reflection shimmered in the barrier, pale face, tangled hair, and behind her, the living galaxy of the creature's body. It's singing, she said softly. Saren tilted his head. Singing? Listen. The monitors picked up the sound, low-frequency pulses rising and falling like ocean tides. When she matched the rhythm with a low hum, the Leviath answered, harmonizing in a perfect echo. For a moment, the entire chamber seemed to breathe with them. The techs stared in silent awe. Lyra smiled faintly, voice cracking from exhaustion. See? That's communication. Not data. Not dominance. Just trust. The Leviath drifted closer, until its breath misted the glass directly before her. And then, impossibly, it exhaled a bubble of light that lingered in the fluid like a floating star. Saren whispered, almost reverent. It's responding to you. Lyra stared at the glow. No, she said softly. It's thanking me. For the next cycle, Lyra barely left the bay. The Volcari stopped arguing and simply observed, logging every fluctuation, every hum, every improbable stabilization. The Leviath floated serenely now, an ocean of quiet power confined in its shell of glass and energy. Lyra had begun charting its vocal spectrum, pulses of light paired with deep infrasonic notes that made the air vibrate against her ribs. When she slowed her breathing and matched its rhythm, her biosensors showed something impossible, mutual coherence. The two of them had synced beyond biology, into resonance. Your readings are an anomaly, Saren murmured. Its heart rate mirrors yours within a margin of less than 1%. She nodded, half smiling. It's empathy, Saren. Physics just hasn't caught up yet. He said nothing. His luminous skin dimmed, a Volcari gesture of uncertainty, almost humility. Lyra tapped a control, and the barrier dissolved into transparency. Beyond the glass, the Leviath's surface shimmered. She could see where new tissue had formed, silken filaments weaving themselves like starlight knitting a wound. Then the lights flickered. The station's gravity plates trembled. What was that? She asked. Saren checked a console. Gravitic disturbance, from below. Planetary crust collapse. The dying world beneath them was tearing itself apart faster than the models predicted. She felt it in her chest, a low, mournful vibration through the deck. The Leviath stirred. Its glow sharpened into spirals of gold. Lyra whispered, You can feel it too, can't you? The creature pressed closer to the glass, body trembling. Its tone deepened, not pain this time, but calling. The data stream spiked. Multiple resonance signatures appeared across the display. There are others, Lyra breathed. They're answering it. Saren froze. Impossible. Its kind were thought extinct for centuries. But the monitors didn't lie. In the void below, through the debris fields and magnetic storms, faint harmonic echoes rose, distant but unmistakable. The Leviath was no longer alone. And somewhere in that terrible, beautiful noise, Lyra thought she heard a wordless phrase forming between the frequencies. A call for home. The harmonic pulses grew in intensity, bleeding into the hull until the entire sanctuary hummed with life. The lights dimmed, flickering in rhythm with the Leviath's call. Lyra felt it not just in her ears, but inside her bones, a vibration like the echo of an ancient choir waking beneath the planet's surface. The sensors confirmed what she already sensed: 3, maybe 4 other Leviaths responding from deep underground, trapped within tectonic vaults of ice and magma. Saren's translucent fingers danced across the console. They were buried, he said, disbelief tinging his voice. Preserved in the mantle, maybe dormant since the collapse of their biosphere. They heard it, Lyra murmured. They remembered. She stared at the massive creature before her. It floated near the containment wall, pupils like twin novas fixed on hers. In that moment, Lyra didn't see a specimen. She saw an ancient being whose heartbeat once synchronized with the pulse of an entire world. Then the deck lurched. The station alarms screamed. Readouts spiked into the red. "The crust is giving way!" Saren shouted. "If the seismic flux breaches the lower levels, we'll be dragged into the core." Lyra ran to the Leviath's chamber. "If the others are trapped, it's not just the planet dying, it's them too. We have to help it reach them." "Are you suggesting release?" Saren's glow brightened in alarm. "Lyra, that thing could crush this station. Its gravitational field alone." "Look at it!" she snapped. "It's not trying to escape. It's calling home." The Leviath's hum deepened, resonant enough to make every console rattle. Outside the viewport, molten rivers began to streak the surface of the planet below, flowing like veins of fire. Lyra touched the glass. The beast mirrored her motion, its vast eye aligning perfectly with her hand. For a heartbeat, the hum ceased. Then, a flash of red light. The outer hull sensors went silent. Saren turned, eyes widening. "It's transmitting something through the magnetic field, a kind of harmonic map." "To where?" He hesitated. "To them." Lyra felt her pulse quicken. "Then let's follow it." "You can't be serious." "I'm not letting it die alone." She disengaged the containment locks. The energy barrier flickered and fell away. For a moment, everything was still. Then the Leviath moved, slowly, deliberately, its glow softening as if in gratitude. It turned toward the planet below. And with one seismic note, a sound that made space itself ripple, it began to descend. Lyra sealed her suit and stepped toward the docking bay. Saren followed, voice trembling with awe. "If this fails," he said, "there will be no record left of us." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then we'd better make it worth remembering." Outside, the stars themselves seemed to shiver as the Leviath's call was answered by another, fainter but rising, a harmony from deep within the dying world. The docking bay airlock hissed open, spilling faint cold over the deck. Lyra's boots clanged on the metal grating as she followed the Leviath into the shuttle bay. Saren trailed behind, hesitant, his bioluminescent skin dimmed to slate gray. Below them, the planet's surface writhed in molten rivers and scarlet storms. The Leviath hovered above a canyon of flowing fire, its massive body undeterred by the heat radiating up through the thin atmosphere. The creature's glowing veins flared brighter with each step, casting kaleidoscopic light across the shuttle bay walls. Lyra keyed the interface. "Open the bottom doors," she whispered. "Let it land near the other Leviaths." The shuttle doors shuddered as hydraulic pistons groaned. The Leviath descended, each step causing the deck to tremble, heat licking through the vents. Sensors tracked its massive weight, calculating what no one dared to predict. The station might buckle under it. "Lyra!" Saren's voice was strained. "This is madness. Even if you reach the others, the tectonic activity—" "I know," she interrupted. "But it needs them." The Leviath paused above the molten canyon. Its eye scanned the red rivers below, and faint pulses of harmonic light rippled along its body. Then, far below, another shimmer appeared, a faint golden glow in the chaos. The Leviath exhaled a low, resonant tone. The distant glow responded in kind. A faint silhouette emerged, another Leviath, massive, its body scarred from centuries beneath the crust, yet its glow alive with recognition. Lyra's heart raced. It found them. One by one, additional faint forms joined, 4 more Leviaths, hidden within the fractures, responding to the call of their kin. The surface trembled beneath molten fury, but the creatures remained graceful, their vast bodies floating and landing with precision. The Leviath before Lyra stepped forward, pulses of light tracing paths in the molten air toward the others. Each movement was a message, a guidance system, harmonics syncing with the buried kin. Saren watched, astonished. "You're witnessing coordination at a level we cannot quantify." Lyra touched the console. "They're teaching each other how to survive. And we're just observers." The first Leviath's glow deepened as it extended tendrils of light into the canyon, scanning the ground, guiding the others. Heat shimmered in waves, but the creatures moved with ease, a rhythm older than the planet itself. Lyra felt tears in her eyes. This was not just healing. This was reunion. And for a moment, all the chaos of HFY below them, molten rivers, torn crust, raging storms, seemed to bend in harmony with the pulse of the Leviaths. They were alive. And together. The Leviaths gathered amidst the molten canyons, their massive bodies casting shadows that stretched like dark waves over the rivers of fire. Each creature's bioluminescent veins pulsed in perfect unison, creating a network of living light that intertwined above the fractured ground. The effect was breathtaking, as though constellations themselves had fallen to HFY to witness their reunion. Lyra hovered near the edge of the docking bay, watching, heart pounding. She keyed her recorder softly. Behavioral observation, coordinated group movement, harmonic communication functioning as guidance and reassurance. Emotional indicators, positive stress response in lead subject. Saren stood beside her, silent, mesmerized. His voice finally broke the quiet hum of the bay. They're organizing. As if the planet itself is a stage and they are conducting its pulse. Lyra didn't answer. She focused on the Leviath she had healed. The glow along its body shifted subtly, a signal she recognized, a display of gratitude and trust. The creature dipped its massive head, scanning the terrain, guiding its kin along safe pathways amid the molten fissures. From the fissures, faint silhouettes emerged, smaller alien creatures, unknown species, perhaps scavengers or young Leviaths, all responding to the pulsing network of light. The molten rivers reflected every shimmer, creating a kaleidoscope of survival, resilience, and life refusing to yield. Lyra whispered, almost to herself. They're showing me how they survive, how they live together. One of the Leviaths raised a tendril-like fin toward the sky. A harmonic vibration rippled outward, interacting with the planet's magnetic field. Instruments aboard the station detected fluctuations that resembled a structured pattern, possibly a message, or a song of reunion and warning. Saren finally spoke again, awe and fear mingling in his tone. If these frequencies reach the other colonies, it could change everything we understand about communication between species. Lyra smiled faintly. Not change, Saren. Teach. We've been listening, but for once, we're learning. Below them, the Leviaths continued to pulse, guiding, mapping, and resonating. Each beat of light and sound a thread connecting the fractured planet, its creatures, and the human who had refused to abandon them. And above, the stars outside the viewport seemed to shimmer in response, as if the universe itself had paused to watch. The molten rivers below surged unpredictably, cracking the planet's crust with violent rumbles. Yet the Leviaths moved with uncanny grace, their glowing veins synchronizing not just with one another but with the planet's unstable magnetic flux. Lyra realized something astonishing. These creatures weren't just surviving, they were shaping the environment through harmonic resonance. She pressed a gloved hand to the viewport, feeling the hum of energy ripple through her bones. Every pulse of the Leviath's glow matched a deep infrasound wave, propagating across the fissures. The planet itself seemed to respond, stabilizing in microseconds. Saren's eyes widened. They're manipulating geophysical activity. Lyra nodded, eyes locked on the Leviath she had nurtured. It's guiding the others. They're using their biology as a tool to harmonize the planet's fractures. The sensors picked up subtle shifts, fissures narrowing, molten flows redirecting along calculated paths, volcanic vents emitting in tandem. It was a choreography of survival and reclamation. She recorded everything. The Leviath's bioluminescent pulses create resonance fields. Secondary subjects respond with harmonic alignment. Geophysical feedback detected. Structural stabilization achieved. For hours, the Leviaths moved in perfect coordination. The lead Leviath would pulse, and others would follow, transmitting energy like a living network. The ambient hum filled the bay, vibrating through the station, shaking the very floor beneath them. Lyra whispered to herself, voice trembling with awe. This isn't just survival. This is civilization, written in light and frequency. A sudden spike in resonance startled the crew. A fissure opened suddenly, threatening to swallow a smaller Leviath. Instinctively, The lead Leviath extended a luminous tendril, guiding it away. The pulse was so powerful it resonated through the bay, sending vibrations against Lyra's chest. Her heartbeat matched it without thought. She realized then that she had become part of the harmonic chain. Not as a Leviath, not as a scientist, but as an anchor. Saren stepped closer, voice hushed. They trust you." Lyra simply nodded, pressed a hand to the glass again, and whispered, "And I trust them." Outside, the stars twinkled faintly through the station's viewport. But in that moment, the brightest lights came from below, a living constellation of Leviaths, pulsing in unity, teaching a human the language of survival. The Leviath's pulses shifted again, faster now, rhythmic patterns signaling a new movement. Lyra realized they weren't just stabilizing the planet, they were preparing to move. The fissures beneath them, once deadly and chaotic, now formed pathways glowing faintly with the creature's harmonic light. The lead Leviath, her patient, turned its massive head toward the station. Its golden eyes met hers across the viewport, and she felt an unmistakable command, "Follow." Saren's glow brightened nervously. "Follow? Lyra, it's massive! If it moves off-planet, it's not just moving. It's leaving," she said. "And it wants us with it." The station's auxiliary shuttles were prepped. Lyra secured herself into the nearest harness, checking environmental controls. The Leviath's wings, folded against its back until now, began to unfurl, massive membranes stretching like sails of living metal. When it moved, the magnetic resonance around the hull shifted. The entire deck vibrated. Lyra's chest tightened in exhilaration. She pressed a palm to the glass one last time. "All right, let's go home." The Leviath leapt into the red skies, its powerful limbs carving through the toxic haze. Molten rivers reflected its glow, turning the landscape into a kaleidoscope of fire and light. Behind it, other Leviaths rose, their smaller frames cutting elegant arcs as they followed the lead. The shuttles fell into formation. Lyra watched the lead Leviath maneuver with grace, controlling its altitude and direction with a precision that defied physics. Each pulse from its veins sent ripples through the atmosphere, subtly shaping wind currents to aid flight. Saren floated beside her, voice barely audible over the hum of engines. "I've never seen anything like this." Lyra nodded, wide-eyed. "Neither have I, and yet I've always known it was possible." Outside the viewport, the horizon burned with molten light, the planet's scars glowing. The Leviath led them above the fissures, wings shimmering, each beat sending harmonic waves into space. Lyra felt the resonance connect with her own heartbeat again, a perfect, synchronized rhythm. It was more than flight. It was a symphony of survival. And she was part of it. The atmosphere trembled as the Leviaths rose higher, the molten rivers below shrinking into threads of glowing red. Lyra pressed against the viewport, awestruck. From this altitude, the planet looked like a shattered jewel. Glowing fissures crisscrossing a blackened crust. The creature's light shimmered against the storm clouds, painting the sky with patterns of violet and gold. The lead Leviath tilted slightly, guiding the others along safe currents. Lyra noted how it used the magnetic fields of the planet and its own harmonic pulses to stabilize air currents, almost like a living wind tunnel. Saren floated beside her, voice low and reverent. This is orchestration. The planet's chaos, their movement, it's all in perfect alignment." Lyra nodded. "They aren't just surviving. They're conducting the storm." From the shuttles, the team observed smaller Leviaths trailing behind, glowing faintly, navigating the tempest with guidance from the lead. The hum of their pulses filled the cabins, harmonizing with the shuttle's artificial engines. Lyra realized the sound had become part of her perception, a steady rhythm she could feel in her chest, her spine, even in her thoughts. "Look," she whispered, pointing toward a widening chasm below. Another Leviath, previously trapped, emerged from a molten cave, wings flickering, body scarred but alive. It hesitated midair, then aligned with the harmonic field of the lead. The entire convoy was now airborne, a swarm of glowing behemoths dancing above rivers of fire and storm. Each pulse reinforced the other, weaving a lattice of energy that made Lyra's sensors hum in unison. Saren exhaled slowly. I thought humans couldn't bond with creatures like this. Lyra's gaze never left the lead Leviath. We don't just bond, she said softly. We listen. And sometimes that's enough to make miracles happen. A sudden surge of light cascaded from the Leviath's veins, reflecting off the clouds like a bridge to the stars. Lyra felt her heart lift. They were leaving destruction behind and ascending into survival. For the first time, she understood what it meant to be human among the stars. Not rulers. Not conquerors. Observers. Caretakers. And above the scarlet storms, the Leviath's glowing forms became living constellations, a map of hope, unity, and trust. As the Leviaths climbed above the storm-scarred atmosphere, Lyra felt the hum intensify, vibrating through her entire body. The lead Leviath's pulses had shifted, higher frequency patterns intertwined with her own heartbeat, creating a resonance she could feel rather than hear. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched into streaks, and the planet's fiery glow receded into the distance. The Leviath's light reflected off clouds of ionized gas, creating a radiant bridge between the red planet and the black void beyond. Saren's voice floated over the intercom, tinged with awe. They're mapping a pathway through the exosphere. It's like they're building a bridge, not of matter, but of energy. Lyra nodded, mesmerized. They are the bridge. The path doesn't exist without their resonance guiding it. She keyed the shuttle's stabilizers, following the lead Leviath as it surged forward. Each pulse of light from its veins interacted with the station's sensors, creating a harmonic field that smoothed turbulence and gravitational anomalies. The smaller Leviaths followed without hesitation, weaving in tight formation. Lyra glanced at the nearest glow of a secondary Leviath. Its battered wings flickered faintly, but it maintained perfect alignment with the leader. A pulse of light from the leader reached out like a hand, guiding the fragile creature along the bridge. You realize, Saren said quietly, that they could guide entire fleets if they wanted. Not just creatures, ships. Lyra smiled faintly, heart racing. They've never needed fleets. They've always needed trust. The convoy surged upward, leaving the atmosphere behind. The planet now appeared as a glowing scar against the void. The Leviath's combined pulses radiated outward, forming a shimmering lattice that reached toward the station's docking bay. Lyra placed a hand on the viewport. It's more than survival, she whispered. It's communion. Connection. Life teaching life to endure. For a moment, all that existed was the shimmer of living constellations, the hum in her chest, and the knowledge that the universe had just opened a door to something entirely new. The shuttles drifted silently behind the Leviaths, their engines barely registering against the vacuum of space. Outside, the glowing veins of the creatures lit the darkness like a constellation in motion. Lyra pressed her forehead to the viewport, watching the pulses ripple outward, resonating with the very emptiness around them. The lead Leviath altered its trajectory slightly, weaving between asteroid fragments and magnetic anomalies. Each beat of its body created harmonic ripples, stabilizing the shuttle's flight path. Lyra's suit sensors vibrated in sync, a tangible heartbeat shared across species. Saren floated beside her, his voice hushed. I don't understand. How is this possible? The energy output alone should destroy you all. It's not destruction, Lyra whispered. It's rhythm. Resonance. They don't fight the universe, they flow with it. Another pulse surged, brighter and longer. The smaller Leviaths responded immediately, each glow harmonizing perfectly. In that moment, Lyra felt something shift within her, not fear, not awe, but belonging. Through the void, faint cosmic storms shimmered like ribbons of color. The Leviaths threaded through them effortlessly, bending and shaping the storm currents with their own bioluminescence. Lyra realized the creatures weren't just navigating space, they were dancing with it. She keyed her recorder, voice trembling with emotion, behavioral observation, group coherence maintained in vacuum, independent yet perfectly synchronized. Human subject integrated into harmonic resonance, showing measurable physiological response. Survival ensured through mutual trust and energy manipulation. Saren exhaled slowly. They could carry an entire planet in this manner. Lyra smiled faintly, watching the Leviath's golden veins pulse against the star-strewn void. No, they carry hope. A distant flicker caught her eye. Another Leviath, isolated, far beyond the main convo. Its pulses were faint, scattered, but unmistakable. The lead Leviath slowed, waiting. Its eye, violet with gold flecks, turned toward the distant one, a silent invitation. Lyra whispered, almost reverent, "Let's bring them all together." The Leviath surged forward, guided by instinct, trust, and human empathy intertwined. In the cold void of space, light and life danced as one. The isolated Leviath hovered near a dense asteroid field, its faint pulses barely detectable through the void. Lyra keyed the shuttle's external sensors, amplifying the harmonic signals. Even across the vast distance, she could feel its tremors in her chest, anxious, hesitant, alone. The lead Leviath slowed, wings folding slightly as if to gesture reassurance. Its golden veins reached outward, sending a gentle pulse across the void. The smaller Leviaths followed suit, their lights forming a path like living lanterns through the darkness. Saren floated beside Lyra, voice tight with tension. "It's risky. That field is unstable. Gravity wells could tear the shuttle apart." Lyra shook her head. "We don't leave anyone behind." The distant Leviath responded, a brief flicker of violet and gold. It moved toward the bridge of light formed by the others. Step by step, pulse by pulse, it advanced. Lyra could see the patterns now, a subtle choreography of guidance, trust, and mutual recognition. The shuttles adjusted, following the Leviath's path through the gravitational turbulence. Lyra felt her heartbeat synchronize once again, her entire body a conduit in this living network. Every pulse of light was a word, every vibration a message: you are not alone. As the isolated Leviath joined the main group, a wave of energy radiated outward. The smaller Leviaths responded instantly, harmonizing in a spectacular display of bioluminescent resonance. Even the ship's instruments recorded a perfect symphony, energy, light, and life intertwined. Lyra whispered, awestruck, "They've all found each other, finally." Saren's voice trembled. "I don't know if anyone could have orchestrated that. Not humans, not our technology. Only them." The lead Leviath turned its vast head, eye meeting Lyra's across the viewport. For the first time, she felt something beyond recognition: gratitude. A bond had formed. Not just survival, not just rescue, but trust. The stars stretched infinitely ahead, but in that moment, the Leviaths had carved a path, not just through space, but into the hearts of those who had dared to care. Lyra exhaled slowly, feeling the harmony in her chest. "We did it," she whispered. "We made it through." Together. The convoy drifted further into the void, leaving the fractured planet behind, a scarred jewel glowing faintly against the black. The Leviath's pulses had shifted into a serene rhythm, harmonizing perfectly with one another, creating a bridge of light that extended from the red planet toward the emptiness beyond. Lyra floated at the shuttle's viewport, awestruck. The Leviath's bioluminescent veins glowed brighter than the distant stars, each creature a note in a living symphony. She pressed a gloved hand against the viewport, feeling the vibration pulse through her. For the first time in her life, she realized the universe had a heartbeat, and she was part of it. Saren's voice broke the silence. There, creating a pathway. Through space. For others. Lyra nodded. Not just for them. For anything that needs guidance. They're caretakers of life itself. A sudden shimmer in the distance caught her eye, a faint swarm of smaller alien creatures, long thought extinct, drawn by the Leviath's harmonic bridge. The lead Leviath turned, golden veins pulsing, guiding the swarm with subtle waves of light. The stars around them seemed to bend in reflection, forming constellations of living energy. Lyra's heart raced. They've never needed fleets or weapons, only trust. Only connection. Saren's glow dimmed, his body trembling. They're teaching us something fundamental. The Leviath's harmonic bridge extended even further, a luminous pathway stretching across kilometers of empty void, guiding the swarm safely past asteroid fields and magnetic storms. Lyra could feel the rhythm in her chest, matching every pulse with her own heartbeat. For the first time, she understood the weight of responsibility. Humans could never dominate, never conquer, but they could learn, and they could care. The Leviath's glow intensified, brighter than any star in view. They were alive, thriving, united. And in that living light, Lyra realized that compassion, trust, and understanding could reach across species, across worlds, across the universe itself. She whispered, barely audible, "We've only just begun." And the stars above seemed to hum in agreement. Weeks passed in the void as the Leviaths led the convoy through interstellar space, their pulses forming a continuous bridge of light that stretched farther than Lyra had ever imagined. The swarm of smaller creatures followed faithfully, guided by harmonic signals that pulsed like a living road map. Lyra floated near the viewport, eyes tracing the intricate patterns. Each Leviath's glow was unique, yet they blended seamlessly, a kaleidoscope of light and rhythm. The data recorded by her instruments could never truly capture the beauty. It was felt, not calculated. Saren, still struggling to comprehend the scale, whispered, "They're not just surviving, they're expanding. Every pulse, every light pattern, it's a network, a system of survival." Lyra nodded, voice soft. "They're teaching us that life isn't just individual. It's collective. And trust is the thread that holds it together." Suddenly, a distant star system flickered in response to the Leviath's harmonic resonance. Energy waves, subtle but undeniable, rippled through the interstellar medium. Lyra's instruments detected alignment patterns, the Leviath's signals interacting with the natural magnetic and gravitational fields of the system. "They're communicating with the stars themselves," Saren murmured, awestruck. The lead Leviath slowed, turning its immense head toward the emerging system. Its golden eye seemed to reflect distant worlds, and its pulses shifted into a complex rhythm, one that resonated deep in Lyra's chest. She understood without words. They were offering guidance, a safe path for life, even across the void. Lyra pressed her hand to the viewport again. "It's not just about us, or even their kind. It's about life itself, reaching across worlds." A smaller Leviath hovered closer, its glow soft but steady. Lyra smiled faintly. The bond was complete. Trust had bridged species, planets, and now, perhaps, even stars. For the first time, she realized humanity was witnessing something profound. The universe itself could respond to empathy. And above the void, the Leviath's bridge of light stretched endlessly, a living testament to survival, unity, and hope. The convoy reached the outer edges of the star system, where cold gas giants and silent asteroid belts lay in waiting. The Leviath's pulses had slowed into a gentle, rhythmic cadence, as if exhaling relief after a journey of trials. Lyra floated near the viewport, mesmerized. Every beat of light from the creatures felt like the heartbeat of the cosmos itself. Saren spoke softly, almost reverently. "We came to rescue one. And we've become part of something, beyond comprehension." Lyra nodded. It wasn't just about saving them. It was about understanding, listening, being part of the rhythm of life, wherever it exists. The Leviath's harmonic bridge stretched across the void, guiding the smaller swarms safely toward a distant, habitable planet. Its surface shimmered faintly, resonating with the Leviath's pulses, a world ready to receive life again. The lead Leviath hovered at the forefront, golden veins glowing intensely. Lyra keyed the shuttle's external systems to follow its signal, feeling the synchronization in her chest, in her mind, in her very being. She realized that in this moment, humans, Leviaths, and the universe were speaking the same language, a language of trust, compassion, and survival. The smaller Leviaths began descending toward the planet, mapping its terrain with light pulses. The lead Leviath remained with the convoy, guiding them along safe vectors. Lyra felt tears well in her eyes. They were not just leaving a planet behind. They were creating life anew, bridging species and worlds in a cosmic symphony. Saren exhaled, voice trembling. I think we've witnessed the future." Lyra smiled faintly. "The future doesn't belong to any one species. It belongs to everyone willing to listen, to care, and to trust. Outside, the stars stretched infinitely, reflecting in the Leviath's radiant bodies. A chorus of harmonics echoed through space, not music, not words, but something older, deeper, and infinitely alive. Lyra placed a hand against the viewport, whispering, "Thank you for letting me be part of this." The lead Leviath's eye blinked slowly, deliberately. Its pulse shimmered once, twice, like a heartbeat returned. And in that moment, Lyra understood the truth of HFY. Humanity's greatest gift wasn't conquest, technology, or intelligence. It was empathy. Above the void, the Leviath's symphony continued, a living bridge between worlds, species, and hearts, eternal, unbroken, and radiant.